Imagine standing atop the walls of a doomed city. Below, a storm of soldiers, siege towers and catapults thunders toward you. The air reeks of burning oil and fear. You hear the war cry of a man whose name would shake the entire ancient world, Hannibal Barca. This isn't just another war story. This is where it all began, the spark that ignited the Second Punic War and changed the balance of power forever. Welcome to Hannibal's Siege of Saguntum, the brutal tactics unveiled. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how one man's ruthless determination turned a city into ashes, and how that very act pushed Rome and Carthage into one of history's bloodiest rivalries. In the early 3rd century BCE, Saguntum was a thriving city along Spain's Mediterranean coast, rich, proud, and allied with Rome. But north of its gates, Hannibal, the 26-year-old Carthaginian commander, had already sworn a blood oath to destroy Rome. To him, Saguntum wasn't just a target, it was a message, a declaration that the peace treaty signed years before was nothing but parchment waiting to burn. As Carthaginian banners rose over the hills, Saguntum's citizens stared in disbelief. Rome's allies stood alone, the legions were far away, and the storm was about to break.
Hannibal didn't rush in. He studied, he observed. The city's walls were high and thick, but every wall has a weakness. He divided his forces with precision. Engineers to build siege towers, sappers to undermine the foundations, and war elephants to intimidate the defenders. As the days turned into weeks, Hannibal unleashed psychological warfare. He ordered constant night attacks, horns blaring, drums echoing through the darkness, breaking the enemy's sleep, crushing their spirit. By day, his archers rained fire on the rooftops. By night, his miners chipped away at the stone foundations beneath the walls. This wasn't just a siege, it was a chess match of destruction. But Saguntum refused to die quietly. Civilians turned into warriors. Women carried stones to the battlements. Children brought water to the fighters. The city's blacksmiths worked day and night, forging spears and patching armor from melted bronze statues. Every assault Hannibal launched was met with a furious counterstrike. Boiling oil poured on attackers. Flaming carts rolled downhill into the siege lines. For a moment, it seemed the city's courage might hold. But courage doesn't stop starvation. It doesn't quench thirst when the wells run dry. The defenders began to weaken, and Hannibal waited. He knew time itself was his greatest weapon. After 8 relentless months, the city's defenses collapsed. Hannibal ordered his final assault at dawn. The Carthaginian rams smashed through the gates, and his troops poured into the streets. What followed was a massacre, brutal, efficient, unstoppable. Fires devoured temples. Families huddled in their homes as soldiers swept through every alley. The city's leaders chose death over capture. Some burned themselves alive in the public square rather than surrender.
News of Saguntum's destruction reached Rome like a lightning strike. Senators shouted in fury. The Republic demanded Hannibal's surrender. But Carthage refused to hand over their hero. And just like that, the fragile peace between the two greatest powers in the Mediterranean shattered forever. Hannibal had unleashed a war that would stretch across continents, a war that would test the very heart of Rome itself. The siege of Saguntum wasn't just the beginning of the Second Punic War. It was a warning that genius and ruthlessness combined could bring empires to their knees. With Saguntum in ruins, Hannibal turned his gaze north across the towering Alps towards Rome itself. But how could he possibly lead an army with elephants through frozen mountain passes? That is a story for another time. Join us next time on Respoken History as we follow Hannibal on his legendary march through snow, death, and destiny in Hannibal Crosses the Alps, the impossible journey.